Court Justice Antonin Scalia died on February 12th or 13th. Who in here is aware of this? So there's 9 Supreme Court justices in the Supreme Court. There are now 8. Antonin Scalia was the 5th conservative vote, so the Supreme Court, before his death, had the power to be swayed to a conservative vote because of his 5th position being the deciding vote between 4 more liberal Supreme Court justices and the 5 more conservative Supreme Court justices. Today would have been his 80th birthday, so Antonin Scalia is a Pisces, which means that he's always looking for a watery type of balance, right? So it kind of makes sense that he's a Supreme Court justice. He was born in Trenton, New Jersey in 1936, so he's a local Jersey person. He lived in Virginia with his wife, Maureen Scalia, and his 9 children. He was considered an originalist or a textualist. So what that means is that he really followed the word of the Constitution, so read the Constitution very literally, and that was how he made a lot of his judgments. On February 11th, he had a meeting with President Obama that was not typical. Scalia and President Obama did not particularly get along. So Justice Scalia met with Obama, and then he was invited by C. Allen Foster to go to Texas and spend a weekend at Chiabolo Ranch. C. Allen Foster is a prominent Washington attorney at Whiteford Taylor in Preston. He is also a spokesperson for the Safari Club, which is a hunting club in Washington, D.C., and this, I quote, "I've been pursuing my passion, killing things. I'm sure many of you have become mamby-pamby girly men and think that killing things is oh so redneck and lower class. Well, you'll be delighted to know that I generally go killing things with continental royalty and English nobility, and we look down on the rednecks just like you do. I am pleased to report that I've killed lots of elephants, lions, buffalo, leopards, kudu, deer, and the last legally shot black rhinoceros, together with more than 150,000 birds of various species. When the last duck comes flying over with a sign around his neck, I am the last duck, I will shoot it." He also goes on to say, I also won't surprise you that I still rail against liberals and academic kleptocracy, Washington bureaucrats, and the feminazi. So this is who Justice Antonin Scalia went to Texas with. They went to Houston with their U.S. Marshal Service, and then they hired a private charter jet without their U.S. Marshal Service to arrive at the ranch. So again, I repeat, they denied the service of their U.S. Marshal Service once they were on the ranch. This is comparable to the president saying that he doesn't need his Secret Service for the weekend. The ranch where they went was owned by John B. Poindexter. John B. Poindexter manufactures the trucks that are run by UPS, FedEx, a very wealthy man. John B. Poindexter is a Democrat head and has donated to the Democratic Party in previous elections. John B. Poindexter was just awarded the Silver Medal in 2010, the highest military award for his service in Vietnam by President Obama. John B. Poindexter is also a prior on the International Order of St. Hubertus, but we will talk about that further. A decorated military veteran, 2 Purple Hearts, 2 Bronze Stars, etc. At the ranch that weekend, there were 33 people in attendance. Only 4 names were disclosed. So we have C. Allen Foster, the prominent Washington attorney. We have John B. Poindexter, the owner of the ranch. We have Justice Antonin Scalia. And then we also know that Wallace Harvey Rogers and A.J. Lewis were also in attendance at this ranch. Although none of the names were disclosed, we know that 33 people were there. 33 people people who were there on a quail hunting weekend. This ranch has often welcomed to the International Order of St. Hubertus, which is a hunting group that was founded off of the Bohemian Grove. Has anyone here heard of the Bohemian Grove? No. So in 1966, the International Order of St. Hubertus, yes, they do wear these robes at their meetings, was founded from the Bohemian Grove. The Bohemian Grove is a group of white men who are the richest men in America. It meets every July in San Francisco. The opening ceremonies is a human sacrifice. The last presidents, Reagan, Nixon, Bush, and Bill Clinton were part of this organization. This organization makes presidents. This organization makes the most powerful actions in the United States happen. It is a secret society where the decisions about our government are made. So right here in the front you see John B. Poindexter. Again, John B. Poindexter is the owner of the ranch where Justice Scalia spent the last weekend of his life. John B. Poindexter is a friar of the International Order of St. Hubertus. You also see here the Archduke of Austria. He is now the 5th Grand Master of the Order of St. Hubertus. And here is an image of the Archduke of Austria and John B. Poindexter hunting in a previous trip where the International Order attended the Chiabola Ranch. So again, let's go back. Justice Antonin Scalia flew down to see Alan Foster to John B. Poindexter's ranch, where 33 people were there in attendance. It is confirmed that Wallace Happy Rogers was there. A.J. Lewis was there because their private jets were also in the dock, along with 33 people of this international secret hunting order. Justice Supreme Court, Antonin Scalia. Let's go here, actually. So the timeline for they arrived on the 11th. The timeline for the 12th and 13th. On the 13th of February, Poindexter found Scalia in complete repose on his bed. His hands were crossed across his chest, and he had a pillow over his head. Poindexter told the New York Times that he clearly had no pulse, noting that no medical assessment was needed. No ambulance was required. So John B. Poindexter and Antonin Scalia had dinner the evening before. Antonin Scalia went to bed at around 10. In the morning, everyone got up at 8 a.m. Antonin Scalia did not get up. No one thought much of it. Maybe he was just sleeping in. At 11, John B. Poindexter started to get worried, so he went into his room with C. Alan Foster, his lawyer friend, the hunting expert, and they found Antonin Scalia in perfect repose, hands across his chest with a pillow over his head. They did not call an ambulance. They called the U.S. Marshal Service to let them know what had happened. They called another judge, and she started to make her way down to the ranch, but then decided that she could declare that his death, that it was died of natural causes with no autopsy. So the U.S. Marshal Service, the judge, and the sheriff, and his family all declared that no autopsy is required. In Texas, this is a law, so if it does seem like somebody has died of natural causes, it is often that no autopsy will be required. However, in this case, with a Supreme Court justice dying, where the cause is unsure, it seems like that perhaps would have made sense. So the U.S. Marshal Service now arrives at the ranch, and Justice Scalia is then at some point escorted to a local mortuary. Prior to sending off his hearse, they sent off a decoy hearse so that people weren't followed. His actual hearse was sent at 2 a.m. It had 20 police officers and the U.S. Marshal Service there. Upon arriving at the morgue, his body was promptly embalmed. The embalming process, for those of you who don't know, eviscerates any poison, marks of asphyxiation that may have been with broken capillaries around his face. So the embalming process does erase any of the signs that would have been found in an autopsy. After the autopsy, Justice Scalia was then brought to Virginia, where his family is, and then brought to Washington, D.C. for his funeral. President Obama attended the funeral on Friday, but he did not attend the funeral on Saturday. Promptly after his death, this is the CEO of Dow on the right, Andrew Liveris, and DuPont on the left. Dow and DuPont merged in December for a merger of $130 billion, one of the richest companies in the world. And after Justice Scalia's death, Dow and DuPont settled out of court for $835 million because of an antitrust suit that they have in the Supreme Court. So Justice Antonin Scalia's death, these are the cases that are now affected by his death that will no longer be biased and will be decided upon by the lower courts because of his death. This is a timeline of or a tree of the people who were involved